This podcast contains some strong language and some stories involving violence. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Warfighters United, where veterans' voices are heard, resources provided, and transitional programs are showcased. Today's podcast is sponsored by VetServe, empowering veterans and transforming lives. Your trusted partner from the VA Home Loans, Real Estate Solutions, and Financial Services. Visit us at vetserve.us. Let's secure your future today. With us today, we have two founders of VetServe.us. Major Christopher Buck, retired, and Major Victor Diaz, retired. So before we get started, tell me about how VetServe kind of existed.
You want me to lead? I think we should mention that our third founder, Ron Babby, couldn't be here today. He had a family event come up, but he had planned on being here. But before we do, Vic, why don't you explain it, man? Because it was yours and Ron's original idea.
Yeah, so here's kind of what happened. Ron and I have been doing business together, and I do real estate, and Ron does mortgages. So we had worked very well together, and we started talking about maybe partnering and doing something specific for veterans. And then I had a veteran, an old Marine who lived in a two-story home who had to get out of that two-story home because his knees were failing, like all of ours aren't. And he conversed with me and said that he'd like to get a ranch home. So I got this idea of selling his house, putting the proceeds with a financial advisor so a distribution could be set up to make the payment on his VA no-no ranch home, and he could take the retirement and disability and just have fun for the rest of his life.
Wow.
And that was the birth of it.
And so from there, how did Chris get involved?
So Vic calls me one day.
I told Ronnie and said, hey, I know somebody who's in financial services. I'd like to get him involved.
Yeah, so Vic calls me one day and says, hey, man, I got this buddy of mine that's over on the east side of the state that's done VA mortgages for almost 20 years. And he's actually, Ron Babby, he's actually with one of the largest VA mortgage lenders in the country. And the cool part about Ron, he can broker out. So he can actually shop around and find you the best rates out there for your VA mortgage. And that was kind of the impetus with Ron as well, was he had been working with VA mortgages for a while, and he kept seeing a VA mortgage come across his desk that was good, but it could have been better. So when him and Vic started talking about it, he's like, yeah, man. He goes, I can help these veterans. So they call me and they say, hey, this is what we got going on. But the back door needs to be shut. When we help them with the real estate and we help them with the VA mortgage, that's a major, significant, life-changing event. So they usually need the back door shut. They need help with the financial planning piece of it, because we can take that benefit or whatever it may be, like Vic was saying, and we can set it aside or we can invest it somewhere. And a lot of times the dividends, the growth from that investment can make the premium payment, or the monthly mortgage payment. And then like Vic was saying, then you're left with, if they're on disability or they've got pension benefits, anything like that, they're not using that for the mortgage. They can use that to live on, spend, have fun with, a little bit of play money in retirement.
That sounds like a great idea. So over the last year, you guys just launched VetServe. And so now you guys are starting to reach out to the community. You're starting to get the word out there that you guys are providing these services. About VA home loans, I was talking to Ron a couple weeks ago, and he was telling me about some of the special capabilities that you guys have to provide veterans, as in usually like a point and a half better than most mortgage lenders. Like, tell me some of the incentives that a veteran has with the VA home loan.
Vic, why don't you run with that? I'm the advisor.
Okay, so Ronnie has the capability to undercut a lot of the current providers out there. He's being with the largest VA lender, he has that capability. Most of them will come in and they'll charge like 4 points. Ronnie comes in and he charges 1.5 points, maybe 2 points. So instead of the 4 points, you're just getting charged, 1.5 points. And that's a huge savings, okay? Because anything could be tossed onto the back end of the loan. When you're buying VA, you can toss it onto the back end of the loan and increase your loan amount. But that also increases your payment and, just your debt schedule. So you've got to be careful with that. But Ronnie can save people money by doing this.
Now, how much does a VA home loan actually get you? So say you're a veteran and you're thinking about buying your first home and you decide to go with the VA home loan. I know there's a lot of incentives. You get some discounts. You get some things for free, as in maybe like the titles or, can you explain that a little bit?
Nothing down either.
Yeah, 0% down.
Yeah. What I was talking about was the VA no points and no down, 0 down. That's one of the biggest things that is attractive. And what's really shocking in my mind is that in the United States, only 12% access the VA home loan.
So in the United States, only 12% access the VA home loan. So you're saying there's 88% of veterans that don't take use of the VA home loan.
Correct.
But that's the thing. Why? Because, I knew I used the VA home loan. My ex-wife and I were both military. So anytime we PCS'd, we had the luxury that we could alternate. I was living in California. I had my current home on a VA. And then we would PCS to the East Coast, and we could do the next VA loan on hers. That allowed us to keep a home, rent it, and so on. But the reason about the VA loan and why veterans aren't one of the reasons they don't use it very often, they don't know much about it. They don't know where to go. They don't know who to talk to. You talk to conventional homeowners, and a lot of them, mortgage lenders, don't even understand what a VA loan is. So for veterans out there, I don't know if I ever talked to a VA mortgage expert. I just stumbled across and I ended up getting my certificate I think I talked to USAA maybe, or Navy Fed. I actually don't remember.
Navy Fed.
Yeah.
It was Navy Fed.
But it's hard to find somebody that understands the VA mortgage and what the points mean. And I'll be honest with you, even I've used a VA loan probably, I think it's 5 or 6 times. And I can tell you right now, I don't think I ever understood it when I was using it.
That's astounding that there's this much help and not a lot of people know about it. Now, when you guys talk about...
I got to tell you.
Go ahead.
Let me interrupt you just for a second, because I got to tell you that I didn't use it when I was first in the military because I lived in California, and back then, this is way back then in the 80s, the limit was like at 175, and you couldn't buy anything you wanted to live in at 175 in Southern California. So, you just couldn't access it. It wasn't good enough. But you know what they're doing today? It's based on the county where you live. But most areas, they'll support a loan of up to $806,500 and as high as $1,209,000. Is that bizarre?
Well, I think that things went in the right direction as long as they can afford to pay that much.
Oh, 100%. But, in the military, you gain skills, you gain capability. Like you're going to be a big podcast star, with lots of income coming in. So you're going to be able to access that $806,000 loan. And it's going to happen for you.
Yeah, that was kind of the impetus of VetServe. We knew there was a deficiency in helping veterans use VA loans. Ronnie and Vic knew there's a gap. 88% of veterans are not using their VA mortgage. Why is it? Okay, is there an organization out there that helps veterans get their VA loan, educate them about it, and then get the best rating they can get? And we couldn't find one. Yeah, there's banks, there's places out there that do VA mortgages, but provide education and walk you along, hold your hand through the process. That's what VetServe does. And then the realtor side of it helps you with the real estate. Vic was my realtor when I was in California, and I moved to Michigan. And I think I said this the other day to somebody. The first time I ever used a realtor that I felt comfortable with was the first time that I didn't see him. I never met him. And I got over the phone, and he said, "Hey, you're a Marine?" "Yeah, I'm out of 29 Palms right now." I said, "You were a Marine?" He says, "Yeah, I was a Marine back in the late 80s, early 90s. That's all it took. I knew I was in good hands at that point. And that's what VetServe, and on the backside of it, want to help with the financial assistance and the financial planning piece as well.
So when you talk about real estate solutions, can you explain a little bit about what that is? I mean, just so our listeners know that there's a lot of options if they're trying to sell their house to buy another house, and kind of how that goes?
Well, there's some amazing options right now. So, a couple of years ago, we were still doing COVID, and we had really ridiculously low interest rates at like 2.75 down, as low as 2.75. Most of them right around 3.125. And so what that does right now, if there are veterans out there that are, purchased their home then and they've got to change a duty station, or they've exited the service and have to go out and move to another job that's in another state, they have the capability to utilize that interest rate and have that be an add-on to the purchase price, so that somebody outside of the Marine Corps, outside of the armed services, can come in and buy that house and access that interest rate on the VA loan.
Hey, Vic, tell them about the repurchase of existing VA loans, too. Most veterans don't know about that.
Okay. So when you repurchase, that's what we were just talking about, was repurchasing, selling an existing house that you're living in and you've got a VA loan on it. You can have the person buying your house assume that loan. That's what we were just talking about, accessing that 3.125 and utilize that to lower their payment so that they can meet that higher demand threshold of an increased price. And that actually increases the value of your home, so you can get a higher price because more people. You have to think of a house as a commodity. It's a commodity. So you're trying to get as many people to want to bid on that commodity as you can. And the more benefits you can have for owning that commodity, the more bids you're going to get. So by accessing that 3.125 interest rate on an assumable VA mortgage, then you've got that capability. Now, with the vet, when the vet moves, they may be able to get another VA loan. They may not. It all depends. There are special extenuating circumstances that the VA looks at to allow the veteran to access two VA mortgages at the same time. So it's capable, but I'm not going to say that it's 100% sure, because it's not, but it is capable. So you can sell your home at a higher price, get more premium dollars, and be able to move out. Now, you don't have to pay capital gains tax on that growth that you took. And just to tell you, for instance, on growth with property, just in the state of Michigan, because we don't have enough houses being built, so the houses that are existing, where we've got people selling them, and they're moving in and they're moving out in a year or two. I'll give you a year. I had a client that bought a house for $185 and just sold it because they had to move back to Houston for $221. So that's serious growth in 1 year. 1 year. And she didn't do anything extra to the house. So it's a terrific just value for you to go out, invest in real estate, and by investing in real estate, you get to write it off. Okay? You're writing it off. Okay, you're saying, I'm living here, but I'm writing off the interest, and most of your payment is interest. Okay, most of your payment on your house is interest. You write 100% of that interest off, okay, of your taxes, your income, so that you pay less taxes, okay? So there's also, and you also write off the property taxes that you pay. But if you are a veteran with a disability rating and you increase that rating, and I advise you all, hit up somebody to help you. VFW, American Legion, the VA, they all help you increase your rating. So hit them up, increase your ratings, get to 100%, because then you don't pay any property tax. Zero. From a grateful nation, a grateful state on the sacrifices that we have given. So just, if you need anything, you call us here at VetServe, and we can help you access all of this to benefit you.
Thrivent is proud to support Warfighters United podcast. Let's create a financial approach that reflects your priorities and protects what matters most to you. Whether your retirement is far off or fast approaching, now's the time to plan. I'm Christopher Buck, a retired Marine and financial advisor with Thrivent, and I can help you work toward your goals with confidence. Call me at 517-525-2737 to get started.
So, Chris, the financial services, I know that is huge on the backside. I know you belong with Thrivent.
Yep.
And so kind of explain to our audience a little bit more about those financial services that Thrivent provides, that VetServe provides, and how everything ties together. You hit it on a little bit, but why don't we focus on that a little bit?
Yeah, so Thrivent's the largest fraternal financial in the country, and I'm a fully licensed advisor. I can do everything from life insurance, health insurance, long-term care, disability. I can do your savings, your investments, college planning, stocks, bond, whatever you want to do for retirement planning, investments, protection. I can handle. The backside that we were talking about, purchasing a home is one of the most significant financial decisions that people make, right? Ends up being one of your largest assets or investments a lot of times as well. So what we usually say is anytime you have a significant life-changing event, that requires you to sit down and talk to your financial advisor. A lot of people want to pay ahead on a home. We may not recommend that, because what if you could take that extra monthly payment you're doing on a mortgage, invest it, and get a better return, especially if you have a low interest rate on your mortgage. You could do better off by making your money work for you, right? So there are little things like that we can help with when it comes to retirement planning in the home. Well, there's also the protection part of it too. I find it kind of comical that law requires us to have homeowners insurance and it requires us to have auto owners insurance, but it doesn't require you to have life insurance, does it? Well, very few, a low percentage of people actually use their auto insurance, and even less their homeowner's insurance due to catastrophic loss. But if I ask you a question, how many people are going to use their life insurance that actually have it? 100% of us are going to die and need life insurance. The thing, though, is while we're in our working years and we purchase a home, we need to protect that asset. Yeah, the homeowner's insurance protects it from damage, but you need to protect the family as well. If anything happens to you and your wife and kids are left, your paycheck ends on Friday. So do you want your wife and family to be able to keep the home, or are you going to force them into some major financial decision in a short time? They may have to sell, move in with parents, things like that. So it isn't just savings and investments. That's the easy stuff. That's the offensive side of retirement planning. But the defensive side is the protection piece as well. Protect the rear lines, protect the supply lines, which is your income, and so on. But yeah, Thrivent, I'm licensed to pretty much do all that.
And so you guys do a lot of community support. Can you guys build on that a little bit? I know you guys are involved in a lot of things. I know you're an official partner with the VFW. You do a lot of stuff out in the community. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, Vic, we'll save the last one we did with all the furniture. I'll let you end with that one. But yeah,
okay.
We've been involved with the VFW now since we started. We attend their conferences and so forth. But we're now talking to the Legion. A couple things we got to nug out, but I think you're going to see our name VetServe throughout the American Legion as well. We're looking at getting involved. I'd like to say we did do this and we did do that, but we're still pretty young, right? We're looking at getting involved with Vet Fest as well, coming up in the summer. That's the second week of August, I think. Large all-veteran event over there at the Fowlerville Fairgrounds to the east of us here. But we're also in the works right now. We don't want to let a cat out of the bag or anything, but we're in the works of planning some fundraisers as well coming up in the near future. The big one we did, one of the first ones, though. Vic, why don't you take it away and explain that one?
Well, we've got a number of things that we're really trying to coordinate with. But I'd like to touch back on one financial thing that we also have the capability of doing with Ronnie, and that is taking money out of your house. Go a neg-am loan, okay, negative amortization, so that you can just draw money out and invest it with Chris, invest it in your family, send your grandkids to college, whatever. But we've got that capability with us as well. And one of the things that we just did was we got about $500,000 worth of furniture donated to Volunteers of America. And Volunteers of America has, I think, 11 apartment complexes that they use to house homeless veterans. And they use the money that they sell from Volunteers of America stores to fund that. So that really assisted them. And that's just because we are out in the community working with a whole bunch of people. So we run across things and we go, hey, this would fit with something else. And so I'm actually a big part of an event that's going to go on July 11th. It's going to be at in Rochester Hills. Last year at this event, Ted Nugent played and was our headliner. And this event is just an amazing affair. It has helicopters arriving with World War II, Korean, and Vietnam vets that are escorted on a red carpet to waiting automobiles to ferry them around to the front where there's a flag exchange ceremony and honors are presented to them along with gifts. Politicians aplenty are there, and one of those automobiles is the original Batmobile. I mean, just how cool is that?
Maybe you can get me a ride in that, Vic. I wouldn't mind riding in an original Batmobile.
Yeah,
I don't know that I can get you a ride in it. I can definitely get you to be able to sit in it while it's parked there.
And so you guys have
most definitely.
You guys have testimonials too on your site. Are those guys that went through VetServe that you've really helped?
Let's see. Ronnie has those. Ronnie got those for his mortgages, and yes, those are people that we have helped.
Yeah, I was reading in the pamphlet. It says there was a gentleman that used the refinance program, and with that, he was able to save $1,000 a month. Now, I know that's just one success story, but I'm sure there's going to be plenty more, or there already has been plenty more. What else does VetServe do that others don't? Like, what about VetServe stands out more than anybody else?
I think it's the bundling of the three combined together. Because, like I said earlier, there's a deficiency in the veteran resource community on just finance in general. I mean, I kind of equate it to, remember in the Marine Corps, and they talk, you're going to get the MCI, financial planning, or what was it called, personal finance? Hey, you're going to do the MCI, personal finance, and what did it teach us how to do?
Math
Write a
for
check.
Marines?
Yeah, that's about it. It taught us how to write a check, and that's about it. And I remember I'm 19, 20 years old, my gunnery sergeant in the office one day, waiting for my wife to pick me up, and he says, Buck, what are you doing here? So my wife's picking me up, and he says, hey, what do you have for retirement? Now, back then in 90, 91, you had a pension, right? There was no TSP 401k or anything like that, but nobody talked to us about anything. He says, what do you have for retirement? And I said, what are you talking about? And he said, you know, you got IRAs, you got annuities. What do you got? I said, I don't understand any of that shit, Gunny. I said, I got like $5,000 in my bank account. I live in paycheck to paycheck. And he says, all right, you're staying here. I want you to talk to this guy. He's a retired Marine. He's a financial advisor. I'm like, all right, I don't understand. I didn't understand anything he said. I don't know what he was talking about. All I knew was he was a former Marine. I trusted him. He set me up with me and my wife with an annuity that day. We forgot about it. The next thing you know, my wife's pregnant with twins. We take a look at it. It was probably about 9 or 10 years later. Back then, interest rates were phenomenal on investments. But I remember looking at that thing, and it was over $13,000. And I remember the dividends that I was accumulating each year was more than the money I was actually putting into it at that point. We had hit the tipping point at some point, and I didn't even realize it. I learned a lesson. Save now, young, whenever you can. It's never too late to start investing and saving, right, for your future, for your retirement. Well, nobody was telling us this in the military. And now, what is it, 30-some years later? And I'm out and I'm looking at resources out there. And I know a lot of veteran nonprofit organizations helping veterans, but I still am not finding any organizations that can help them with financial planning, retirement planning. I don't see any out there helping with real estate. And I don't see any out there that are helping with VA mortgages. And all of these things are all financial planning tools, investments. And we've decided let's tie these together. Because when you PCS, whether it be active duty or veteran, doesn't matter. If you PCS from Camp Pendleton and you're coming to Michigan, the first thing you got to do, you got to figure out where you're going to live, right? And they give us 3 days house hunting leave. To go home, look at 60 houses or apartments, make an offer, and figure out where you're going to live for potentially the next 3 years. Hopefully it's a good school zone, your priority lit, whatever. But when you're doing this searching, there's nobody there to help you along the way to coach you with the VA mortgage or anything, right? So that's when we decided we got to put all this together in one resource. And step one, find somebody, a VA mortgage expert, somebody that can talk you through, hold your hand. Step two, find a realtor you trust to find you that home, that apartment, that condo, whatever it's going to be. And then step three, talk to a financial advisor, because that's a significant life-changing event, the purchase of a home. And they may be able to help you on the backside as well. So anybody who's listening and any of this sounds like you could benefit from it, they go to VetServe.us and they'll be able to find your contact information, find out more about, getting a advisor. I mean, what is the best way to look you guys up? If they go to VetServe.com, there's a landing page right on the front. Oh, U.S. Sorry about that, U.S. There's a landing page right on the front part of that, and you'll scroll down a little bit, and you'll fill in your name, and you'll request that we contact you. So then you'll get a contact phone call within 24 hours. Within 24 hours, so you guys are on top of it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right. Well, I tell you what, I think that is there anything that I'm missing here about VetServe that you guys would like to fill in?
Well, through our coordinations with the VFW and the American Legion, we have the capability to help vets increase their disability ratings. So that's another added aspect because we do a lot of work with these people. And getting that for the vet decreases their overall payment, their monthly payment, and allows them to invest more with Chris to provide for the future. And I think that's really where we want our veterans to look, is to the future. And can I throw in a lesson I learned?
Yeah.
I was one of those 26-year infantry, right? And I get out, and I was getting yelled at for about 8 or 9 years. What do you mean you haven't went to the VA and filed yet? I'm all right. I'm not hurt. There's guys out there that need it, girls that need it more than I do. And I kept getting yelled at. Finally, I said, you know what? I had a VSO he was from the American Legion, and he said, listen, man, it ain't about now. It's about later. He says, your knees and your back and your body's going to fail before most males your age. And he said, you need to get it documented now, file now, instead of 20 years from now when it's much harder to file. And I thought, you know what? He's right. It's not about now.
If you're in the service and you're about to get out, get in there and start your VA filing as soon as possible. It's easier to do right before you get out or right after you get out. But wait just 8 years like I did to file, and you start jumping through some hoops, and it's a little harder to get some of your injuries and stuff through.
Well, too, if you wait 8 years, that's 8 years of payments that you could probably have.
Yeah.
You know, if you do the math, just say you're at 10%, that's $117 a month. That's over almost $1,300 a year. Times that by 8. You just missed out on $10,000.
Yeah.
Right, and that's at the low end for like tinnitus or if you have hearing loss. But there's so much.
What are we trained or what are we accustomed to?
Suck it up attitude.
Exactly. Suck it up, man. You don't go to medical if you go to... Dude, I got hit by an IED and ended up with a fracture in my leg and didn't even want to get it checked out. My whole crew got medevaced, and I'm standing there on the battlefield worrying that my battalion commander is going to see I'm limping because I don't want to get pulled out of the field, right? So, yeah, I was like every infantry guy, man. Suck it up. Well, it also meant it wasn't in my record book either. I had a lot of stuff in my record book, a lot of injuries and stuff that just weren't in there. So, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right, man. File as soon as you can.
Yeah, and so when you're talking active duty military, they actually let you sign up 6 months before you get out. And then about 2 to 3 months right before you get out, you might even, it would take 5 to 6 months for that claim to go through. But as soon as you get that last paycheck from the military, usually your VA compensation will jump right in there and take that added pressure off of you getting out, not knowing what to do and getting a paycheck. But also with that, you know, talking about VSOs here in the state of Michigan, we've been cut. I know the VFW has cut almost $350,000 for veteran service organizations for our VSOs that give us our disability. And coming up in June 25th of this next month, Q106 is going to be doing almost like a call-a-thon. And so the same thing they do for food services, you know, to feed the public, the needy and everything else. One whole day, Q's going to let you call into their programs. They're going to let you pay $25, $50 to play whatever song. It can be country, it can be jazz, it can be anything you want. And it's the one day, and they do this 2 to 3 times a year, that they will play other than rock and roll on Q106. And all the proceeds on June 25th will go straight towards the VFW Veterans Service Organization office. And so that way we can start funding our veteran service organizations the way that they properly need to. And so if you're listening and you remember this date, June 25th, you know, call into Q106, donate some money so we can make sure our veterans get the disabilities they need, and we can start clearing things up from what we've been cut and building that back up.
Hey, Eric, let us know. If VetServe can get involved and help out, let us know.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to need all the help we can get. And so I wanted to thank you guys for coming on Warfighters United. You can also find Warfighters United podcasts on Apple and on Spotify. You can look on Q106's main page. And if you ever want to contact me, it's warfightersunitedpodcast@gmail.com. My name is Eric Calley. I'm the host of Warfighters United. I want to thank everybody for listening. And until next week, have a good rest of the weekend.